Hey, deserving listeners, this is Chapter 2 in our deep dive on the JonBenet Ramsey case, which is, at its core, a very tragic case, regardless of who done it, so to speak.
Who or why done it, it's tragic.
Yeah. So there's that. But in Chapter 1, Berto laid out some of the initial data, and I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I got hot under the collar during the patron zone last time. I'm already angry at the police. So continue, Berto.
There was hotness.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and I'm a professor, and I'll just read your shirt. My name is Humberto Castaneda, and Mother! So a fan made this shirt for Berto, and it has a bunch of quotes from him from before. Yeah. So introduce yourself, Berto.
My name is Humberto Castaneda, and I manufacture clown's noses, but green. All right. So last time we went over the events of the day, December 26th of 1996. I wanted to now take a little step back and talk about who are these folks, who are the family, and also address the sort of the elephant in the room, but it's not really, but it is that JonBenet Ramsey was a beauty pageant participant. Heavily, that was one of the main activities she was involved in. And if folks don't know much about beauty pageants for kids, I don't either. So we're in good company. And then I'll have a lot of questions for you about that topic. So I wanted to start with a video. This is an interview, JonBenet Ramsey. It's during one of those pageants, and it's just kind of like to show, if you haven't seen what these things look like or whatever, this is just like her made up with really fancy dresses, and then the interviewer is asking her questions.
Okay. So this is presumably just an interest piece about child beauty pageants.
Yeah, and this is likely that same year, I believe.
Okay.
Name and how old you are.
My name is JonBenet Ramsey, and I'm 5.5.
5.5. Okay, pick one. Do that. Okay. What is your favorite animal at the zoo?
The monkeys, because they laugh and stuff and hang around.
So that's a short clip, but essentially you can see, how dolled up she is, like literally dolled up.
Yeah.
But otherwise, she's acting like a little girl. They're asking her, "What is your favorite animal at the zoo?" It's like, it's the monkeys. Yeah.
Now, for those who aren't watching the video, her dolled upness isn't extreme. She has a fancy hat, and from the resolution, it looks like maybe makeup and whatnot.
Yeah.
But she still looks like a little girl to me.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're just listening to this, what we're watching right now is a video from one of the pageants. Little JonBenet is walking in one of these outfits. It's like a sequined, I don't know the right terms, but it's this white and blue, very pretty dress. And she's got...
It's like a prom
shoes.
Dress in the 80s. You have the,
the
kind of puffy sleeves.
Arms. And her hair is very made up. It's like very like elaborate.
And she has kind of a plastered mini smile. She 5 or 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
And there she's like smiling. And so there's a lot of poise. And when you think about 5 or 6 years old,
right, just
the ability to,
get that much control and
like
patience.
With regular kids that aren't trained or don't have this demeanor, like one of the funniest things to do is to have like, in kindergarten, they'll get on stage and they'll sing a song, and half the kids will just be picking their nose.
Right, and that's actually funny.
Right, that's all part of the thing. So to see her by herself with no one there telling her what to do.
That's right.
And that's kind of the thing about these child beauty pageants is just the training that goes into it.
Right. So we'll watch a couple more clips later, but essentially that's just a really quick look at the kinds of events that JonBenet was participating in. And this wasn't a casual thing, meaning it wasn't like, oh yeah, she just heard about it, went down to the mall one Saturday. This had become an active participation that her mom was engaging her in.
Yeah, what I'll say is, because I've never seen that, obviously, I have two reactions. One is that it seems less scandalous or problematic than I thought. When you watch it, it's just like, a kid dressed up in a thing, walking around. it demystifies it a little bit to actually see it
Right.
in a video. But it also is somewhat disturbing to think about these kids dressed up in that way. People say it's sexualized. That didn't look sexualized to me. I mean, I guess you could say to dress up a kid as an adult, especially in certain kinds of outfits, but those outfits didn't.
Yeah, these two examples seemed less like that. There are some where they're wearing essentially bathing suits and things like that.
Right.
And there's somewhere there's a lot more makeup, but and I think the issue is that whether you think it's aesthetically nice or whatever, meaning like I personally look at that and I'm like, I don't necessarily, I can tell it's kind of a neat dress, but it doesn't draw my attention in a special way. But I also don't look at it going like, whoa, she's sexualized, right? But unfortunately, if you are someone that already has an attraction to underage kids or, kids, this might be a chance for you to look at them in even more of a dolled up way or a more adult way or something.
Yeah, and full disclosure, coincidentally, well, actually, I can't disclose because I'm under contract, but I'll just say that
something is happening.
I'm involved in a project that is extremely related to this, and so I've been doing a lot of research and thinking and interviewing people, talking to people about this. So,
wait, are you working for the CIA?
So when we get into the pageant stuff, I can talk about my opinion and my take.
That makes sense. All right. So I'm going to go through a little biography of each protagonist of the family. I'm not going to go through all the protagonists. We would never finish. Okay. So starting with JonBenet Ramsey, the father. Born in December 7th, 1943 in Lincoln, Nebraska. 1943, this makes him about 80 now, or 82. So he had a bachelor's in electrical engineering and a master's, an MBA, a master's in business administration, also from Michigan State. So he was a graduate of Michigan State. So he was he had great education. And he went on to be a very successful professional. He owned a business that was very successful. He was also in the military. He served in the Navy as an officer. He worked logistics and engineering roles during the Vietnam War era. So he wasn't like at the front line, but he was during that war, he was actually active. And then he had a business career. So he entered the area of technology and defense. I mentioned in the previous episode that Lockheed Martin had acquired his company. And he had founded this distributor of what I'm guessing is a lot of computer parts, including graphics cards. Graphics cards were huge in the mid-90s. Okay, so he ran one of these computer distribution companies called Access Graphics. And basically they sold high-end computer systems. And then they made a lot of money. In 1996, they had posted annual revenue exceeding $1 billion, which is a lot of money in especially mid-90s. That's a big, successful company. That year, John Ramsey received a bonus at work. He was the owner of the company, but at this point, he was also owned by Lockheed Martin. So, even when you're the owner, like you pay yourself a bonus and stuff.
Right. Like that, right? You're an owner and you're an employee.
That's right.
Yeah.
So his bonus for that year was, can you guess?
$118,000.
$118,000.
Okay.
That was the exact amount of his bonus that year.
Interesting. Well, there's no tick in either column for me because if you're a kidnapper, then at the very least you have to know, right? Right.
Because that would be
if you're not the parents, then you would have to know or know someone that knew or something.
Right. It couldn't be some random like, oh, I'm going to break into this house and then randomly write a note, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's the parents and that's what they're trying to make it look like. Yeah.
Except someone will point out, well, he had his pay stub with the thing in his office, so someone could have rifled through and seen, but I don't know how many hours were spent rifling through the whole house to find information about how much to charge them for But it's interesting, right? Like we were wondering, what was that random figure?
Right.
There was an explicit reason.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. He was married once before. He had 3 children with the first marriage, and his daughter, Elizabeth, had died. So he had already lost one daughter.
How did she die?
Car crash.
Oh.
I know. When I first was going through, it was like, wait, he had a...
Well, I'm sure
it was a car crash. At the age of 22, he was not involved. There was no,
Okay.
But it was tragic, as tragic gets, right? Like your 22-year-old daughter, a whole world ahead of her, dies in a tragic car accident. So he'd already dealt with losing a child.
Yeah. Now, I'm guessing, or hoping anyway, that we have data from his first wife and his kids about John's personality, because if it was John and or Patsy, then there would likely be some sort of, oh, by the way, quick little asterisk, you sent me an article. This is a deep dive asterisk about another deep dive within a deep dive.
Yeah.
So tell us what you read.
Right. Well, so I came across a news item where a certain father named Errol Musk has been formally accused of sexual abuse of not one, but like many of his children. And that just came out this week.
Yeah.
And so I sent you this article because we had literally discussed this in our podcast as it related to Elon Musk, and your theory, which I was like, whoa, that makes a lot of sense, of like that, hey, maybe he was not just traumatized from bullying, which is traumatic enough, but maybe there was even more significant abuse, including sexual abuse, and this could mess someone up royally for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah. I mean, we knew
Yeah.
that Errol Musk was having an ongoing relationship, sexual and romantic relationship, with one of his stepdaughters.
that's right.
And had 2 kids with her, and was not ashamed to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we knew that, but we didn't know.
Apparently this is systematic and ongoing.
But the hints were there.
Yeah.
When Elon would give interviews, and he a couple times said something like, he is an evil, evil, evil man.
Yeah.
And he mentions like really horrible abuse and
Right.
violence.
And he stopped short of going into details about, but there are hints in his.
But he says everything you can think of an evil father doing, he did.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised that people weren't, of course, it's just speculation, but
Well, but it's from the man himself. Like, it's not some other person speculating. It's
Right.
the person, Elon Musk himself, saying these horrible things. Now, he hasn't been convicted and stuff like that. These are accusations, but it's just, I found it like fascinating that this is finally officially.
it's not an accusation that he had an ongoing sexual relationship with one of his stepdaughters.
Right.
Someone that he raised.
Right.
But anyway, so end of asterisk.
But you were bringing that up in the context of like, we're hoping, is there data from the first marriage from Lucinda and the
Right.
children
to
about
give an
John?
indication of personality, it wouldn't be a slam dunk, but if he was a psychopath and was violent or something, then it would point in a direction.
Right. And we'll get a little bit into what other folks have said about him in an episode where I'm going to consider various theories. But what I'll say for right now is like, no smoking guns here. There's no like, oh my gosh, well, yeah, Lucinda, they gave this interview and like, I guess it was hell. No, this doesn't exist.
All right, let's take a break. When we get back, let's continue what you say.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back from the break. Sorry for interrupting. Continue.
Okay, the second marriage was to Patsy. So he had one marriage, didn't work out, but these things happen. Had a horrible loss of Elizabeth, and second marriage to Patricia. So with Patricia, they had children, Burke and JonBenet. Burke was older and was 9 at the time of JonBenet's murder. Patsy herself, and we'll get a little bit more into this in a second, was a former beauty queen. So that's likely where her fascination with these pageant things came from. John was then married a third time later. Spoiler alert, but it's not Patsy eventually died of cancer. So she died, and then eventually John married. So this wasn't some salacious thing. It was a third marriage. It was 2011. Yeah.
Geez, if this John guy is innocent, my goodness.
Yeah, he's been through a lot, right? Dead daughter from a first marriage, a murdered daughter from a second marriage, and then his second wife dies of cancer. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, and then later in life, so he relocated from Colorado to Michigan and later Georgia. It was interesting because he was trying to sort of like stay out of the limelight, or at least that's what he himself kind of claimed. But he's been very involved because he's still actively searching for the killer. And he goes to crime conventions and he gives interviews and a whole bunch of stuff. So he's actually quite in the public eye. And there was a recent Netflix documentary, which I'll talk about later, that where he's interviewed. He also wrote a book. He co-wrote a book with Patsy in 2000 called The Death of Innocence. And it was about defending their innocence and talking about the death. All right. And then as of now, he's 82, I guess. Yeah. And he's living with his current wife. So this is someone who, other than these tragedies, had a successful life. He'd been well-educated, great company, like successful in business, all these things. And then even in spite of these tragedies, continued to live his life and kind of carry forward and things like that. So, from that perspective, again, if we believe that he's fine, he's innocent, then this is only tragic and it's only commendable how he's able to pick up the pieces and keep going, right? Okay, so now we move to Patsy. She was born in 1956, so she was a little younger, in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Have you ever been to West Virginia?
Yeah.
Is that what John Denver, is he saying about West Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Okay. I always kind of want to go there because I want to see the Blue Ridge Mountains or whatever.
Yeah, so
supposed to be beautiful.
It is pretty, and it's an interesting part of the United States. A lot of rolling hills, but compared to the nature out here, I mean, because out there the mountains that you get are the ones that are closest to you, and it's not that it's not beautiful, but growing up in
I see, yeah, you're like spoiled.
I mean, you grew up literally in the shadow of Rainier Mountain.
Yeah.
All of the other mountains that are around and all the nature and all the hills and all the things. And so,
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful area.
Now, it has its own charm, West Virginia.
Okay. All right. So Patsy had parents Donald and Nidra Powell. She was one of 3 daughters. And education-wise, she attended high school, was very active in cheerleading and drama, and then earned a bachelor's degree in journalism from West Virginia University. And then she was a pageant participant. She, at age 20, was crowned, so this is not a small deal, Miss West Virginia. So she won the actual Miss West Virginia for 1977. And then she competed in Miss America in 1978. Doesn't sound like she won that one, but she did compete. And she was known for her charisma, poise, and interest in fashion and performing. So, quite a bit of background in that aspect. And so it wasn't super surprising that she might have, wanted her daughter to be involved in that. Although it doesn't say anything about her competing as a child, Patsy competing as a child. So she was married to John. They had Burke and JonBenet. And she also had stepchildren from John's first marriage, of course. And everyone only said that she was devoted to her family. So this is another case where there weren't like horror stories. Like remember with the Menendez, there were stories, in spite of us not really fully knowing the final truth, there were stories about how brutal the father could be in public and yelling at them and all these. We don't have those smoking guns here about Patsy.
Or John?
Or John.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no accounts from coworkers or extended family or the ex-wife or the kids saying, John was abusive.
Yeah, or yeah, like things like, well, I don't know what happened, but, right? We are going to get into, there are some things that the housekeeper had to say about both of them. But even those are still also not smoking guns. And when I say smoking guns, they're not as clear as red flags as what some of the things we were talking about in the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
Where like there were literally relatives that said, well, I don't know. He would take his son upstairs for hours and I don't know what they were doing. And the other guy's like, well, he would brutally yell at him and hit him at the, this doesn't exist here. In December 1996, Patsy is the one that discovered the ransom note. But another thing that we will talk about when we talk about the theories is Patsy was not ruled out on the handwriting side. John and Burke were, meaning they did, and I know the handwriting analysis can be, but John and Burke were actually ruled out. They were like, yeah, there's no, they graded on a scale. And for them, it was like, this is super unlikely that it's them. With Patsy, they could not rule her out. And what that means is that different experts either said, I think it might be her handwriting. Others said, I'm not sure. And some said, I can't tell. So they couldn't rule her out. So that's interesting. And then
I will say I'm looking at the note right now on our other screen. And there are some distinctive qualities. Her A's, or the person's A's in the ransom note have that, I don't know what you call it, but that little tag on the top.
Yeah, right.
And there are a couple other letters that look pretty distinctive.
Yeah, so we'll actually look at a side-by-side in the theories episode where we look at what, some of the, but spoiler alert, there's no conclusive thing here. We're not going to be like, okay, well, that proves it. It's just, but it's interesting that she was not ruled out.
Right. And it doesn't take a genius to realize that if you're trying to fake a ransom note, you could fake a different way of writing.
Absolutely. Now, what skeptics would say, or what people might say, is like, yeah, it's just that it's her pad, her pen, and the random intruder who killed their daughter happens to have handwriting that also matches her. That's where they start getting weird.
Okay.
But
yeah,
okay.
I mean, well, we're looking for ticks in the column.
Yeah.
So it's a tick in the column.
That said, Patsy maintained her innocence publicly and privately, and there was never any account of anyone that knew her coming out and saying, well, one time she did almost say something or said something weird to me.
There was no therapist that came forward.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Having had sex with his client.
God. Yeah. Right. So, by the way, that's the other interesting thing here. Like, we are going to have some interesting things that come out that you're going to be like, wait, really? But there aren't those like, well, actually, we found out that Patsy was at a golf game and she said, and that didn't happen. Okay. She had health struggles. When the murder happened.
Well, so just to jump on that a little bit, after consuming, a fair amount of true crime and doing a number of deep dives, one of the things that is not like the movies, where you have your Hannibal Lecters and your super geniuses, because they either don't exist or they're extremely rare. Very often there is a breadcrumb trail. There's evidence leading up to it. Like for people that are abusive or maybe even planning on killing, like it's not uncommon to have people Googling, how do I bury a body?
Right. Or
they're talking with a friend a month earlier and they say, sometimes I just feel like killing my kid.
Right.
There's almost always,
right.
At least if investigators look hard enough, there's almost always some kind of trail that leads up to it.
Like,
so,
oh my gosh, I could have strangled him.
Right.
He was strangled to death. Oh God.
Statements, or a book that they checked out, or there's usually something. Now, it doesn't mean guilt, but the fact that there's been nothing
that clear, no. Like I said, we'll get into what the housekeeper said. And to be fair, the housekeeper probably spent more time around them than a lot of people. But yeah, but even there, it wasn't like, well, I found the book where her diary where she had written, I'm sick and tired, I'm ending it, or whatever. Okay, health struggles. She was already a survivor of cancer by the time the murder happened, meaning she was in remission. She had ovarian cancer. They had gone through the therapy, and she was in remission. Much later, it recurred in 2002, and then it got worse, and then she eventually passed away.
Can I do a little diversion here for a second?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the audience, some of the people in the audience are in either of the camps, right?
Right.
Whether they are the parent apologist or they are 100% convinced that the parents or one of the parents killed JonBenet Ramsey. What I'll say is that, according to Humberto anyway, none of us know, and it could be either. And we just have to be okay with the fact that we don't know. You look at the data one way, and it says one thing. You look at the data another thing, it says another thing. Also, you can have passions, and you can have hobbies, and you can have your own things that you're interested in, passionate about. But if we or I are exhibiting one side or the other, and I'll just say for the record, I have no idea. I can't help but to, try to figure it out. It's a whodunit kind of a thing, which is what attracts people to these things anyway. If it was a open and shut case, it would have its certain salaciousness, a case like this, but I'm guessing it's still in the public consciousness. You said there's a Netflix documentary recently, so 30 years later, it's still interesting to people, and we're doing a deep dive on it. So it must be one of those cases that is just really hard to resolve. But what I'll say is that if, as we explore this, you're finding yourself getting angry or rageful or in the comment section, or you want to throw your phone or something, I want you to check in with yourself, because there's probably something going on there. I'm not diagnosing from afar, and it's self-serving to say, if you're mad at me, there's something wrong with you.
You're the problem.
Yeah. So, take all that into consideration. But I think a lot of the fandom, if you will, around cases like this is because there's a lot of pain and abuse and trauma in the world. And these cases, maybe particularly back in the 90s, when you can point and a bunch of people can all say together, some parents are bad. Some parents are brutal. Some parents are abusive. Some parents are psychopathic. Some parents don't care about your feelings. Even the rich families, even the families that look like everything's fine. It happens, people. Believe me, it happens. It happens. It happens. And when people say, well, I don't know if the parents did it, it can feel like you are personally being discounted and that you're being abused in the exact same way that you were being abused as a kid, where maybe even no one listened to you. Maybe you even told people and they said, not them, your parents are nice people. I mean, literally, right? Or even you tell your other parent and they say, your father would never do that. And it can feel like you're back there, but you're not back there. And thank God you're not back there. So deep breath and let's move forward.
Yeah.
From the other side, if you're a parent that has been judged or accused of something, which happens, right? You have custody battles where one parent falsely accuses the other parent of being abusive or sexually abusive, or you had a kid that died or was, they broke their arm and you took them to the hospital. And to this day, you remember being questioned by the police, or you had family or people at school that were actively pointing the finger at you, and you know what it feels like to be falsely accused of something and to have a group of people, even if they're not attacking you, just the idea that someone out there would think that you would do this is extremely upsetting and rageful. And so on the other side too, deep breath, your trauma is real. Everyone's trauma is real. This is a case none of us have any idea about. We just have to accept that.
Yep. So like, for example, her cancer has been used by both sides, because you could say, well, her health was fragile. She was a survivor. She was struggling and things like that. So it adds sympathy to her case, right? And then you have the other perspective, which is, well, that would add a lot of stress. Maybe she was very stressed. Maybe she was at her limit. Maybe there were things that were really upsetting to her, all these kinds of things. Okay, so she sadly...
Because, when people are stressed out about cancer, they go on
their daughters,
murderous, sadistic
That's right.
killing spree of their own children.
It happens in the movies.
And then on the other side, well, if she murdered her kid, I mean, go easy on her. She had cancer. She has cancer.
Right. Okay, so despite battling her illness, she remained vocal, defending her family's innocence. Her family's innocence. So this is another aspect, that the family remained united. John, Patsy, and Burke remain united in their stance that they're innocent. Okay.
I hadn't even thought about that people might think it was the older brother, but he wasn't old enough for that kind of...
A 9-year-old, how could a 9-year-old
Right.
hurt another person?
Well, I mean, it could happen, but the nature of that... Well, I don't know. I mean, are there people who think Burke did it? I mean, it is possible he did it. It's unlikely.
I don't know. We might have to see that in the theories question. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the problem, is that there's a lot of theories. Okay, so Patsy died in June 24th, 2006. So she was 49, man. She was young, very young. So, and this again, if she was innocent, oh my God, the tragedy. She lost her baby and then she passed away from cancer, not knowing what happened or anything. And then the other one is like, if she had something to do and then what happened. And it just sucks.
and your health has to do with stress.
Yeah.
And of course, society, I'm guessing, wasn't super helpful in that way.
Right.
And if you're stressed, you might not seek help or treatment, or there's a lot of factors. I'm not saying the public killed her if she was innocent, but might not have helped.
Yeah. In fact, Patsy has arguably been one of the most polarizing figures in the story. There was a lot of immediate and ongoing backlash about the fact that she had JonBenet in pageants in the first place. A lot of accusations of over-sexualizing her, putting her in a place that would be vulnerable anyways to like if it were someone that came into the house and killed her, maybe that was because of her being in the pageants, this kind of thing. So that was criticized. Not to mention there was actual accusations like, well, maybe she did it, and we'll go into all the possible reasons why they would say that. So yeah, it was not great, really tragic, no matter which way you slice it. I will say now, and this is going to become more of a thing we discuss, but in 2008, there was a DNA-based exoneration of the Ramseys, but we shouldn't overread into this. What happened is in 2008, there were, because as you can imagine, in 1996, DNA techniques weren't as advanced as they've gotten, and they've gotten even more advanced since 2008. But in 2008, they were basically able to say that, okay, some of the additional DNA they had found, because they found some additional DNA, did not match the Ramseys. Now, there was Ramsey DNA, but like sort of in expected ways, because they lived there and they're all over the place, right? But there was additional DNA they found that they couldn't match to the Ramseys. And so in 2008, there was what I would call a soft exoneration, meaning there was a public statement. Yeah, but this doesn't mean the case is not closed. The case is far from it's still an active investigation.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious as to what the physical DNA evidence involved. Are you spoiling anything saying that there was semen or something? Or?
I will anti-spoil by saying, like, luckily, there is no semen.
Okay.
But there is DNA that is unmatched.
Yeah, but that could be for so many reasons.
I know. But at the very least...
It could be like the salesperson that sold them the clothes, or
it
could be the housekeeper could have bumped into someone and got,
Yes.
But that's curious because in today's technology with 23andMe and all the records of DNA, they haven't found any sort of...
So the father and the investigators and the police likely are still pursuing things with latest DNA evidence.
But so presumably they haven't found any...
Not yet. And keep in mind that the samples are very old now and whether they were properly preserved. And
but if they're able to make a statement about this is a distinct other person, they have enough of the DNA.
Well, yeah. In 2008, it was more like, hey, this additional DNA that we can't place, we can say it's not the Ramseys.
And this is coming from JonBenet Ramsey's attorney?
No, this was a public statement by the district attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it says something. Maybe. Yeah, that says something.
All right. So,
although does it? Because if the parents had killed the kid, then and they did find DNA of the parents in the quote unquote the expected ways.
So I'm going to spoiler alert something to say that there were different factions within the law enforcement side. The DA was not on the same page as the police.
Okay.
And was definitely not on the same page. Neither, like there were three different factions: the Ramseys and their investigators.
Wouldn't it be nice
the DA and the police?
Wouldn't it be nice if law enforcement and the justice system just took the data and weren't biased? Wouldn't it be nice if they just waited until the data came in?
Yes. All right. So pageant history. I said that Patsy Ramsey was a former beauty queen, and this meant that, well, it didn't mean, but in this case, she decided to start. And this is an important point. How do you feel about this? I have two kids, and even at their age, which is like a teenager and, almost a teenager, it's like sometimes they don't make decisions with all their brain cells activated and what I'd call fully informed, which is why we know that like things like age of consent is not till you're like 18 and stuff like that. And why you're not allowed to drink alcohol here in this country before you're a certain age and other things. You're not allowed to vote. So at age of 5, the decisions you make are definitely influenced by those around you, especially if it's a parent and things like that. So when I say that JonBenet began competing around age 5 in the beauty pageants, it is possible she was at a preschool and her little 5-year-old peer said, like, I'm competing. And then she came home one day and said, I would like to compete. But by all accounts, and likely, Patsy was like, hey, we should do this thing because she was interested in it. Okay, but either way, JonBenet showed an affinity for it. She seemed to be good at it. She started winning. And
are we going to get into this topic later? Because I got a lot of shit to say about. Okay,
this is the time, and I have questions.
Oh, right now?
So if you want to start adding, this is great.
Okay,
because this is all pageant.
Right. So I don't know if I said it in this chapter or last chapter, but for reasons that I can't disclose currently, it's not anything horrible. It's just that until the project is published, I'm under contract not to talk about it specifically, but I think I can say that I'm involved in some kind of project that them asking me for expert opinion about child beauty pageants and also reality TV and whatnot. And so I've been doing a lot of thinking. I already knew a fair amount. The reason why they reached out to me, was because you and I did a deep dive on child beauty pageants in 2018, actually.
Right.
And it was actually a fan of the podcast as well. Anyway, but I have a lot to say about this, but before I go on that long yammering and that conversation, because there's a lot to say. There's so much to say about it, and I have my simplistic initial reaction, and I'm sure back then I was just like, what kind of monsters would doll up their kid? But it's way more complicated than that, and there's a lot of cultural understandings that have to be kind of fleshed out. It doesn't mean that it's a great thing. Also, the idea of consenting for kids, I'm passionate about that. We talked about that in a previous deep dive or episode in which I went down. I think it was during the Duggar.
Right. Yes.
Where you have kids that are quote unquote consenting to be on a reality TV show.
Yeah, right. We talked about that, how it's like, well, I mean, they were in on it. They liked doing it. They loved it.
Right. Yeah. And I went down a whole rabbit hole just on my own about the laws for kids and entertainment and how, so I want to get into all that kind of stuff. It's going to be long, so that'll be in the patron zone. So if you're not a patron, then the episode will end here. Tune in next time on Chapter 3. Otherwise, become a patron, or see you for now. Take care of yourself, because
you deserve it.